Hey, good morning, everybody. It's a continuation of Mornings LALATE. Your $1,400 third stimulus check landed in direct deposit accounts today, including Direct Express by Comerica, also the big banks like Chase and Bank America. Meantime, four stimulus checks, multiple stimulus checks, reoccurring stimulus checks is heating up under the fourth stimulus package. In this video, we'll go over those multiple stimulus checks. I'll be jumping in the live chat, answering your questions. Also be answering questions about unemployment, the items remaining in the third stimulus package that you can get as well. But let's cut into a live video happening right now about the press secretary answering questions about your fourth stimulus package.
Realistic given the backlash that you've seen so far from Republicans? And if the president can't win over any Republicans, is he staying true to that promise of ushering in a spirit of bipartisanship?
Well, here's how the president sees it. Democrats and Republicans will have ideas about what they like or don't like about the plan. That's a good thing. That's democracy in action. That's the American way. Our view, his view, is we don't just fix what is broken today, we build for tomorrow. And his idea of infrastructure is evolving, is that it should evolve to address the needs of the American people. We believe there is a fair amount of opportunity for agreement, that we are open to compromise, we welcome the debate, and we'll look forward to having those conversations when members return.
You would tackle along party lines if you needed to.
I don't think we're quite there yet. The president believes there is an opportunity to work with Democrats and Republicans, that there is agreement on the need to modernize our infrastructure. There is agreement that we need to do more to compete with China. Let's start with areas where we agree and have a discussion from there. Go ahead.
Two things, and thanks for confirming the timing on guns specifically. First, in a COVID-related matter, there are reports that during the transition, the incoming administration received a June 2020 report from Trump officials concluding that emergent biosolutions at plant in Baltimore that spoiled some J&J vaccine doses.
You're watching a live press briefing of the press secretary updating you about fourth stimulus. Minutes ago, but right before that, before this reporter, she was asked about, will you do by reconciliation? She was muffled. You may not have heard the reporter because her mic was not in position correctly. And the press secretary said the president's still open to doing this by bipartisanship. What you need to know is you don't want the fourth stimulus package to go by bipartisanship because no Democrat is going to give you a stimulus check. Rather, the great news is that 21 of 50 Democrats who are in the Senate, who ultimately the president needs to use to get the bill to the finish line, have written the president not once but twice saying that they're going to demand and they're going to amend to put multiple stimulus checks in there. Let me explain how this works. To recap, when you do a reconciliation, the president writes the bill. No stimulus checks in there. Goes to Nancy's House of Representatives. Maybe they put it in there, but they still don't. Passes the House, then goes to the Senate. When it's in the Senate, there's those 2 days. It's called the vote-a-rama. During the vote-a-rama, every senator can propose an amendment. Those amendments happened under the third stimulus package. A lot of items that you have now in the third stimulus package were not there. They were put in that 2 days of that vote-a-rama. And that's what those Democrats, 21 of 50, who the president has to have every single one of them on board, are going to do. They said they're going to put in there monthly stimulus checks. They don't say how much, but they certainly say the income qualifications. Let's go over this. If you are getting a third stimulus check, this is you. You would get a fourth one. It's for individuals, married couples, children, adult dependents, family of four, household of four. I put up three figures. Family of four, household of four. Income qualifications the same, $75,000 or less for a single individual, $150,000 or less for a married couple. It would be done exactly the same way. We don't know two things about it: how many months and how much money. But we can certainly go over the calculations together right now. The calculations right now are very obvious. If the stimulus checks got done in the month of June and the check went out in the month of July as the first month, that would give you 6 months to the end of this year. It's July to December, 6 months. If we were doing $2,000 a check, that would be $12,000. If it was $1,400 a check, it would be $8,400. Again, this is per person. Family of four, you're going to multiply each month by 4. So a family of four with a $2,000 check would be $8,000 for the family of four. What's important to understand is that the bill needs to go to the Senate as soon as possible. If you're looking at this timeline, thank you, Patty, for coming to Purple Hawk. Everyone welcome Patty to the room. If you get this bill to the Senate as quickly as possible, it works in your favor. Let's look at this timeline. We're now just receiving the third stimulus check here in April. In May, and April, we're going to focus on getting this other money under third stimulus in our pockets: rent, utilities, food, childcare, the $1,700 for college students, the EIDL grants. We're going to go over all the other SBA grants. We're going to go over all this money as a family and make sure you get it April and May. But you want the bill done by June, because guess what? You want that money out the door by July. There's a series of reasons why. The most obvious reason is because every month is a check. You don't want to miss a month. You're going to miss a check. But the second reason is because of this economy reopening. The new data across the board is really alarming. In fact, there was a new report out today from Jamie Dimon. The chief of Morgan Stanley said today that he thinks we're facing a major economic boom. If that's true, you want this bill in the Senate as soon as possible. This is Jamie Dimon's comment today. I have little doubt that with the excess savings, new stimulus savings, huge deficit spending, more Q&E, a new potential infrastructure bill, and a successful vaccine and euphoria around the end of the pandemic, the U.S. economy will likely boom. This boom could easily run into 2023 because all the spending could exceed that into 2023. That is being indicated today in the FANG stocks. The FANG stocks have been rallying all week long. FANG stocks are Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, and Google. All four have been rallying all week long as indication that there's a boom coming. What does this boom mean for you? That you want this stimulus package in the Senate as soon as possible to get that MSE done. FPUC retro, a possibility, SSI reform, hazard pay, and minimum wage. And ultimately, the corporate tax rate is not the deal breaker among the Democrats. Joe Manchin yesterday said the following comment: as the bill exists today, it needs to be changed. It needs to be around 25%, the corporate tax rate. It's currently 21. Manchin says it's too low currently. Biden wants it 28%. Manchin says that's too high. And the press and the Commerce Secretary was asked previously in this same press briefing, would she go lower? She said, we're not opposed to going lower. Let's listen in more to what they're saying now, and I'll jump into the live chat.
Some had been allocated already. Previously, we're working within what our limitations are by law. But we have never believed that building more of a wall, the president doesn't believe, is a way to address our immigration challenges at the border.
Okay, and then a quick clarification on Special Envoy to the Northern Triangle, Ricardo Zuniga, who's in Guatemala, was there yesterday talking about this. He said that the White House is looking to create legal ways for Central American migrants to reach the U.S. Is that could you explain more on if you know what he was talking about? Is that what President Biden has talked about, allowing folks to apply for asylum in their home countries, or are there other options being considered?
Well, more immediately, we've reinstituted the Central American Minors Program, which I would think he is likely referring to, which when it was stopped in 2017, there were about 3,000.
Let me jump back into the live chat right now with great questions across the board. Some of the questions have been about first missing checks. And this includes if you're missing a first stimulus check or a second stimulus check, or on this round, the third stimulus package, you have a household of 4, but you only got a check for 3 people. What should you do? Number 1, wait. Give it a little bit of time because that check may still be coming. Also, check the mail. If you did not get a stimulus check by direct deposit today, direct express by Comerica, the big banks, if you're on SSI or SSDI, you did not get a check today, but you see everyone else getting a check, wait. But check the mail. 50% of viewers of this channel will get a check by mail, even if they got the first and second stimulus checks by direct deposit. Number 3, wait for guidance. And you may have to request information after guidance. What does that refer to? IRS is going to give guidance about how do you request a stimulus check if you didn't get the third one. Now, we know how you get the first and second one. Someone in the chat right now just said, I didn't get a first or second stimulus check. What do I do? You need to file a tax return and request it. Even if you are not obligated or required to file a tax return, all Americans have the right to voluntarily file a tax return. And Treasury has indicated that filing a tax return to request that missing first and second stimulus check is the way you do it, and you get paid right away. Lickety split. Now, if you have other issues that you need to fix, like telling IRS about a child that exists because you want to get ready for that $3,600 of the child tax credit coming in July, or that $3,000 or something else like that, then you may want to wait a little bit because you may have a lot of stuff to tell IRS collectively that's missing. Elsewhere, there is those mail checks. If you have a mail check and you're from March 26th, it hasn't come, they're still coming. Add about 10 days to it. Last week's checks, April 2nd to 5, they're still coming. Add about 10 days to them. They're late. And this week, while the graphic says April 7th, it should be April 9th. Add about 10 days to that. More checks are going out in the mail this week. Let's listen in more to the press secretary. And continue with your comments and questions. I'll answer them in 1 second.
We also, of course, work with businesses and convey directly to businesses, just as we do to leaders across the country, about the importance of abiding by public health guidelines, and whether that is ensuring that masking up, hand washing are used as models in these locations. These are also entities and businesses that we're in touch with around the country as well. Go ahead, Aisha. This is your first time in the briefing room, right? Since the Biden administration.
Yes, since the Biden
Yes.
administration, and it's my wedding anniversary. So it's a good
Oh,
day.
happy anniversary. Well, and here you are with us.
Here I am with you guys. So
Ed got you a cake. That was so nice of Ed.
I know you'll allow me a lot of questions
Yes.
for that.
Yeah, of course.
So starting off on the issue of North Korea, think tanks like Beyond Parallel and other North Korea.
And certainly North Korea foreign policy is not the coverage of this channel. So let me cut away. One of the questions someone just asked, Latrice McCall. I have a question, LALATE. So when can we update our direct deposit account if we want the forced stimulus to go to direct deposit? This is a great question, and I saw this question from a few viewers yesterday. What you need to know is that if you like direct deposit for items, and you think you're going to be getting a lot of items under third stimulus still or fourth stimulus, then do direct deposit. But if you're one of those persons that may be closing accounts here and there, never do direct deposit because, boy, it is a real problem. Let me explain. If you have ever had a bank account, but you close them because you don't like the bank, you don't like the teller or something, IRS, if they don't have any update, it's closed, will attempt that account, it'll fail, and then go to paper check. But if you're a person who's had the same bank for 10, 15 years, you love the bank, everything that's great about, then consider direct deposit. How do you provide that information? A tax return. A tax return is the only way at the moment to provide IRS information about how to send you money. So this is what you need to know. If you are wondering how to tee up direct deposit for that child's check every month of $300 starting the month of July, or how to be ready for multiple stimulus checks when they get this done, the senators, in July or August, then a tax return is the way to do it. Now, if you're watching this channel and you hear a couple things that you may have to update IRS about, don't do the tax return just yet because you may have a lot of things to put on that return. For example, missing first or second stimulus checks, or you're missing one of the household members. But if you have nothing else to take care of, then an amended return, if you filed one, or a new return is something that would solve that question as well. Let me jump back into the live chat and see some more of the questions and comments that you're dropping as well. That was a wonderful question.
Surprised in some cases in the Senate, and that is where we feel we can have the most impact at this point in time.
So is the commission still on the table, or is that something that is not being thought of right now?
I just don't have an update on it, but we are focused on working with members, with advocates on many sides of this debate on how to move things forward, and we feel the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act is the most.
So someone asked, how long will it take for forced stimulus to get done? That's a magical question. If we look at the time frame, that was Michael Cartwright asked, how long will it take for the forced stimulus to get done? Let's look at the graphic for that, because we do have a timeline graphic. If you got this to the Senate in June, then we could have this out the door by July. Ultimately, it's important to understand that as fast as they get this passed, the better for you. You know, if they got this bill to the Senate in June, then the checks could go out in July. Or if they got it done in early July, the checks could come in late July. You're not going to get a stimulus check anytime before then. So do not expect a stimulus check in your hand in May or April or June from the fourth stimulus package. That's why it's so important for you with me to get the other money that's available under third stimulus over the next few weeks. That's rent, that's utility, that's food. Everyone on this channel who makes less than $45,000 qualifies for it. Then someone also asked, and I missed who it was, what about the business grants? Yes. So that's coming live in just the next few days. We have the shuttered venue grant from SBA, which is not just for venues. That's about to go live. The EIDL grant, which is about to go live. The PPP grant went live last Friday. It was extended by executive order. So you have a lot of new things just happening, but there's still a lot more money to arrive. The money for rent, utilities, and food has to arrive in the city and states, also mortgage assistance, city, states, and counties. That money is being sent out by the federal government. It may be where you are now, it may not. Let's listen in and see what more the press secretary has to say, and drop your comments, and I'll answer them as soon as I see something.
Impacted a lot of these communities. And what we're trying to do is work with them to determine how we can get to these root causes to reduce, to disincentivize travel from the region.
But I mean, will you have a numerical measure, any kind of tangible measure of success, benchmarks, that sort of thing?
Well, I think as everybody who's followed this for some time knows, this is about addressing these causes over the long term. Unless we address root causes in these countries, we are going to see the same cycle of.
Rhonda just asked, I have a new address. How do I update that with IRS? Again, a tax return. Address is singularly the most disconcerting or the most troubling issue for receiving money. You and IRS to always know where you are when it comes to receiving money. Also, if there's a child that IRS doesn't know about, you need to make sure that that child is always on your tax return. And someone said, I misspoke. Yes, it's no Republican wants to give you a stimulus check under the fourth stimulus package.
Or some,
We're talking about how we address this over the long term and how we reduce the disincentivize travel over the long term to the border.
And you mentioned the money. Can you work with these governments? There's one of the major issues.
Yeah.
So someone asked, Susan Johnson, and then another person asked before about the SSI and SSDI $2,400. That is currently on the to-do list. There's a lot of things that the president has not done. And here's what you need to know, is that at the top of the to-do list is the multiple stimulus checks. Everyone qualifies for multiple stimulus checks, including people on SSI, SSDI. So the viewers as family absolutely need to be behind this and only this first and foremost. It's the biggest payout. It dwarfs anything in comparison because we're talking a lot of money that is nearly 4 to 5 times the amount of $2,400. Number two, SSI reform can be done in the fourth stimulus package, and the president has talked about helping elderly in the fourth stimulus package. He's been very vague about the subject matter. Items that SSI reform could include is tagging the benefits to CPIE, not COLA. That's changing the benchmark. Again, it doesn't require a bill. All it requires is calling up the Social Security Administrator to make the change. But they can do it by bill if they wish to. Second, increasing your benefits lifetime was not anything that was proposed by Elizabeth Warren. She proposed some people to get it lifetime based upon a calculation up to 20% for some people, not all people. But when you talk about the $2,400, the biggest push should be MSC because it dwarfs the amount of money. Again, here is the money we're talking about. They want to get this bill out the door in July, and 21 of 50 Democrats want those multiple stimulus checks in there and are vowing to do it and have told the president to put it in there. Well, if it's $2,000 a month, it would be $12,000 an individual. If it's $1,400 a month, it's $8,400. They haven't given us the number value, but they have given us the qualifications, and it's a lot of money. Give me more great questions, and I'll answer them as they come on in. Let's cut back to the press secretary live from the White House.
To be the communicators about the effectiveness and the efficacy of the vaccine. I will say one of the things that is sometimes not understood, or people don't see in the data, but we've seen in the data, is that the issue, we've seen a reduction in hesitancy as it's defined, and you referenced Black and brown communities, certainly a reduction in hesitancy. The issue is now access. This is true in whether you're talking about conservative white people or you're talking about communities of color. It's now at the point where people are saying, look, I'm
Two great questions that came in. One was from Mike about how to receive the monthly stimulus checks. A great question from Michael Lester. I'll answer that in 1 second. And then another great question, which was from, where was it? I just missed it. It was asking about mortgage assistance. I think it was Pamela, but I lost it. She was asking, where's the mortgage assistance? Again, that's also at your city, county, and states. City, county, and states will be administering the rent and the utility and the mortgage and homeowners assistance. The guidelines I can go over with you under the third stimulus package, the federal guidelines, but cities, counties, and states have 3 different bodies for you to choose from to get the money. You can look at your city, you can look at your state, and you can look at your county. Why would you look at 3 different groups? Because they may have different statements and different requirements. One may be very restricted, one may not have the restriction you don't like. So ultimately, I unfortunately cannot track every city, county, and state across the country. All I can tell you is where money is landing and how it's landing. Meantime, that great question from the other viewer that asked about how to physically receive the stimulus check on a monthly basis. They haven't figured that out, but there have been proposals. And the most obvious and the most logical proposal came from VP Harris and Bernie Sanders in 2020. Their concept I adore. The concept was the following: send Americans who qualify for this a debit card. Just like how unemployment departments in states send you a debit card. Send them a debit card one time only. Put on that debit card as the first month's of payment. And then after 1 month, the next month, the next month's of payments go on the debit card. You wouldn't have to worry about ever looking at the mailbox, tracking a check, worrying if it's going to come. Everyone would just have that card replenished with an extra deposit of money every month on time. Very, very easy breezy. It's presumed that they would do it this way, but these are senators. They're not always logical. Let's listen more to what she has to say.
But she was there to talk about COVID and play a role, as she's playing a significant role on our efforts to address vaccine hesitancy, communicate with the public about how we can do this, and
what are the qualifications for MSC? One viewer asked. Same qualifications as a third stimulus check. That's Jessica. So if you got a third stimulus check, same qualifications, $75,000 or less for a single individual, $150,000 less for a married couple is what they're proposing. They're also proposing the same amount for child, same amount for adult dependent, up to a family of 4 households. So same qualifications as the third stimulus package. The only items we don't know is the amount of the check per month and how many months, because the bill's not in the Senate. Kamora likes the debit card idea. I do too. It makes a lot of sense.
this is absolutely an issue that she remains committed to, is in the lead on. The Northern Triangle, which I'm sure you're aware of, but is not the same as the border. They're all related to each other, but addressing being responsible in the lead on the Northern Triangle is working with these countries in the region, addressing the root causes, working with them on how we can address issues like long-term food insecurity, drought, the COVID-19 pandemic, hurricanes, etc. That's what she's focused on. I don't have an update on.
One person dropped a really great comment, and I've never seen this comment before. It's brilliant. And it talks about the $3,600 for the child. And that, and I lost who said it, but it was referring to that it should be put into the child's name in the concern that the parent may try to, oh, there it's Deborah. I think they should put the children's $3,600 in a savings account so they'll have a chunk of change when they're 18. Well, first, the Biden administration doesn't agree with that concept because they want the money to be spent now to bring the children out of poverty level. But I do like the idea that that there should be some sort of safety net to ensure that the money actually goes to the kid. There are parents out there that'll take the money and spend it on themselves and not spend it on the child. So there should be some sort of safety precaution to ensure that this massive amount of money actually goes to the child and for the rearing of the child. It's a great comment from Deborah. I really, really adore that question. And if you have other questions, share them as well. Remember, it's important to take these videos and use and share them on social media. This is what's going on. If you missed the morning's LA broadcast right before this, it was the Commerce Secretary. And she specifically said the same thing that the press secretary said yesterday, which the president is now having his staff have conversations, chat with. leaders from all different walks of life, business leaders, Democrats, Republicans, communities, and try to hear their response to what they want in the fourth stimulus package. This is you, Purple Power. This is you. The time frame is now. He's wanting to hear from people what should be in the fourth stimulus package. So take this video and share it on Twitter, hashtag MSC, hashtag Purple Power. Tag your elected leaders, tag the Commerce Secretary. Call them up on the phone. They'd love to hear from you. Not the president, but clearly some of the cabinet members or their staff. They'd love to hear your input about what you think should be in there. Write them a letter. Contact your Democratic senators and say, this needs to be really in there. I know it's about water. I know it's about bridges, but this should be in there. Don't be alarmed that the bill's talking about railroads or highways. Ultimately, stimulus is stimulus. So make the push, because now is the time to make the push, because we're really on the, if you look at this time frame, we're very, very close to getting this where it needs to go. Thank you, Cheryl Hawkins, for the dancing pear. It's a dancing pear on Stimulus Day. It's a stimulus dancing pear day. Dancing pear. Thank you, Cheryl, for the dancing pear. I really, really appreciate it. Let's jump in back to see what the press secretary has to say right now. And yes, if you're just joining me and you're missing a stimulus check, let me go over what to do. Wait for the end of the day, because it is still too early. Second, watch the mail. It may be coming by mail. You may not be expecting it by mail. And then also wait for guidance from Treasury. They're going to give you updates about how to request it.
Next to the goals.
I would have to check those numbers. I'm not challenging them. I just would have to talk to our COVID team about those. As you know, equity is central to what we do. COVID and addressing the pandemic and ensuring we are taking steps to address getting the vaccine out to communities around the country is central to our focus. We are constantly monitoring where the vaccine doses are going and that they're equitably distributed. That's something, every vaccine is marked in boxes. We saw this at Pfizer. It's very cool, actually. We monitor that closely. We monitor the uptick in outbreak and COVID rates in communities and see how it's impacting different communities. We work directly with governors to help address where there are upticks in communities and where we see there are communities that are not getting.
Deborah just asked, is there a hashtag campaign for this? Absolutely. Hashtag MSC. Hashtag MSC and hashtag Purple Power. You want the message to go out loud and clear. I think I have a graphic for it somewhere here in the whole list. But hashtag MSC. You want it to go out very loud and very strong. You want them to understand that this needs to get done as soon as possible, because it really needs to be done. Let me jump back into the live chat.
So what I would tell you is that we are constantly adapting and adjusting our strategy to areas where we see that we are not effectively addressing distributing the vaccine equitably. That is central to our focus and will continue to be.
Just to reiterate, the question was, why not set hard numbers? There's 100 million for the first 100 days, then 200 million. Why not say we want to see 20% or 30% of Black people, Hispanics? Why not put numbers by your equity goals?
I'm happy to check with our team. We may have internal goals along those lines, but I would just convey to you that we look at it as our objective is to vaccinate every adult American. That includes, of course, every adult American who is white, Black, brown, Asian American, and that we look closely at where we are.
A great question from one person. First, James Martin right there. He has the hashtags correct. Only thing is, James, put the Purple Power as one word and put the hashtag in front of it. Someone asked, I think it was Debbie again, does stimulus checks count as income? No, stimulus checks are not income. It is not income. It's not taxable. Unemployment benefits are income. They are taxable. Rogoram, welcome to becoming a Purple Hawk. Welcome to the family. Everyone, welcome Rogoram to the family. I hopefully pronounced that right. My stimulus check came today, and I'm glad. I need a new pair of glasses. Kenneth, well, I'm glad you got that. And I'm glad you get those glasses. Congratulations, Kenneth.
Often $11 an hour on average. These are communities and individuals who need greater assistance and need greater help. In addition, the people who are impacted most by the need.
Someone said, would the MSC would include railroad benefits? Yes, if you are a railroad benefit, you would be included on the multiple stimulus checks. SSI, SSDI, Social Security, and railroad benefit recipients, veterans, would be included in the multiple stimulus checks if they get this done. If you're a taxpayer who makes less than $75,000, you'll be included. And thank you for the dancing pear, which was from Bruce. Dancing Bear. And with that, thank you for joining me on a big morning's LALATE. I'll be seeing you at noontime in about half an hour. If you've not subscribed, make sure you subscribe. Also, like this video. Let's try to do 3,000 likes. It really helps the algorithm rankings. Congratulations to those who got your stimulus check. And if you didn't watch throughout the day, it'll still be coming. Also, stay with me because forced stimulus is heating up. Take this video, share it on social media. Tag the elected officials, hashtag MSC, hashtag Purple Power, call them up, send them letters. Now they want to hear from you. This is the time, and this is time to push. Purple Power, do your thing, push, push, push. And away we go into forced stimulus. Stay informed, stay focused, and stay with Ally for more.